Yeah, thanks for the question. I think to answer the question, I'll step back one and talk that, we had a vision, John Wolfert and I, last year, actually leaving this conference, we started talking about the shift in the space and the fact that corporate housing and even service apartments we're starting to get very narrow in their reach. And the other side of it was alternative accommodations and what you're seeing through the magnification of sites like Airbnb and VBR, vacation rental by owner, home away, and how much bigger that world is compared to ours. And we started thinking about a brand that could literally operate in all of those different levels, whether it's corporate housing, service apartments, alternative housing, student housing. It didn't really matter because that world is much bigger than the world we've been narrowed into with our own corporate housing mindset. So the idea of Reside started to percolate. The name John always had, so the name came to life. But then partners came into it that actually had a real vision for what they considered to be a roll-up. But the roll-up needed a brand, and the brand needed a roll-up. So we got together, created a partnership group. We're funded with a capital group out of Canada called Westbridge Capital. Mike Meekins is our principal. And from that idea, we formed up a company which became the acquisition of Aboda. Now, Aboda could or couldn't have been the first one. It just ended up being the right one for us because it gave us size. It gave us a platform that we could build our roll-ups behind. It gave us a consistent kind of cash flow business model, already 30 years mature in Seattle. So we put a lot of effort from the spring all the way until November to buying that company. Concluded that transaction just November 30th. At that point, a new company was formed, new board of directors. Myself and John Wolfer became co-CEOs, which isn't daunting as it sounds. We've been working together for many years. So we became co-CEOs. Our mission now is to grow Reside through acquisitions, mergers, management contracts, property acquisitions. So we really created three different companies underneath Reside. So we have an operating platform that will be the roll-up entity. We have a property asset company that will buy assets in key markets that make sense in correlation with the opcos. And we have a management company that will kind of work between the two of them. So our plan is over the next 3 to 5 years to buy 10, 12 operating companies in the U.S. and Canada, possibly overseas. I have had a couple conversations in the U.K. It'll be opportunistic. Our ability to get a deal done is all time-based. We can probably do 4 a year. So we'll be very judicious about who we're looking at. But in the end, Reside will be a parent brand that is built around alternative accommodations. The companies we buy will, for the most part, remain local. So what we're not going to do is debrand them because we feel that's an actual negative now, where maybe 10 years ago it would have been a positive to brand them. Now we want to leave them in their local state because that's what we bought. And that's where we think the opportunity to grow is creating that hyper-local message around the housing experience that we will try to control through technology and service, but also let that local company do what it does best. So we're going to find a nice blend of operating principles between kind of the global mandate of Reside and the local mandate of service. Oh, this is great. This is my third one, so every year, I think Pierce would say it evolves. I would say it's just different every year. It's a different group. It's different conversations. It's a different reaction to what's happening. So it feels very real time. There's nothing stagnant about it. So the conversations we had last year turned into the reality of this year, whether it was about roll-ups and acquisitions or the emerging alternative accommodation space, or they'd probably say we're the emerging space because they're much bigger. But I think all that then manifests itself into this conference, which means the conversations are much brighter and much more real time. So I wouldn't miss this conference.